Hi, my name is Pulkit Mathur, and today we are going to create a demo with ICS, that is Integration Cloud Services. Now, the use case which we have here is there is a company called ABC Corporation, and that needs to publish all its open opportunities on LinkedIn. So, the flow of the system that is going to happen is the company's resource management system, which we are going to mock with SOAP UI, is going to send a request to ICS. ICS is going to transform that message into the format that LinkedIn wants, and then finally we are actually going to publish the message on LinkedIn. So starting off first of all with the homepage of ICS, I assume that you have read all about these 7 cards and the 4 home tabs in my blog post. So starting off with creating a connection to LinkedIn from connections. So here I click on new connections, and if you see, there are about 50 connectors that are there in this release of ICS. It contains Oracle Cloud products like Eloqua and systems like File, HTTP, as well as social media like Evernote, Facebook, Google Tasks, Google Mail, Google Calendar, and LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is what we are interested in at this time. So I'm just going to select the LinkedIn adapter from here and name this LinkedIn connection and click create. Now, before we actually configure the LinkedIn connection, we need to do some configuration on the developers console on LinkedIn. The developers console URL can be found on the documentation of ICS for LinkedIn adapter. So this is the link to the developers page right here. So I've logged in. Once you logged into LinkedIn, then you can just create an application here like this. Create an application, and let's just choose a random company here. Name, publish opportunity on LinkedIn. Now the next item has application logo. The thing to keep in mind is that the application logo should be totally square. So I've already downloaded a square logo from Google, so you could do the same as well. Application use is communications, website URL. I'm just going to give Accenture here. Business email, I'm just going to give my business email and business phone number and submit. So once you create an application, you are going to get 2 fields, that is client ID and client secret. Now these will be used in your ICS LinkedIn connector. The second thing which you need to do is give the application permission to share data and say that this is the admin account for this company. Then there is one more field called authorized redirect URLs. We are going to come back to that in a while. So right now let's just save it and keep a track of the client ID and client secret. Now just going back to the ICS screen for creating the LinkedIn adapter, click configure security here and just copy the client ID and the client secret, and just fill in the scope. This scope should be the same fields that you checked in here, that is our basic profile plus our email address plus RW company admin plus W share. Now we just need to provide consent so that the LinkedIn adapter in ICS can actually communicate to our LinkedIn app. If you click provide consent, you are going to be redirected to this fault page that says invalid redirect URI. That tells you that we have not configured the correct redirect URI in LinkedIn here. That's why this fault. So the best way to configure this redirect URI is to just go to the address bar here and search for redirect URI. So if you see the redirect URI is equals to HTTPS, it starts from here and ends here at callback. So this is a encoded URL. You can just decode it from a utility that is available on the internet for decoding URLs. So just copying it here and decoding. So this is a human readable form of the URL that I get. I'm just going to copy it and paste it in here and add and just update our LinkedIn application. Now we are going to try to provide consent again and hopefully it should work now. Yes, so it takes you to a login page where it asks you that if you would like to access some of this from your ICS app, you can just click allow access and access allowed. Now your LinkedIn adapter is ready to be tested to see if the connection is successful. So you see the connection test was successful and you see the status here is 100%. So that means the LinkedIn adapter is now okay and ready to be used. Now you can just exit connections, save changes. So this was just the creation of the LinkedIn connector. Now in the second step we are going to create a REST connection which would be used to accept a request from the company's resource system. So just select REST here and search, and here is the REST adapter. So similarly we are going to name our REST adapter here or the REST client, REST receive request, and the connection role should only be to trigger the integration that we are going to create after this step. So clicking on create, there's not much configuration that you do in the REST connection here. The actual configuration of the REST connector, like the format of the incoming request and many more things, will be done when we create the actual flow. So I'm just going to save it now and test is 100%. Now exit connection, save it again. Now we go to the actual integrations to create the actual integration that would be called through the REST connector that we just created. So just click on new integration. Now there are four options here: basic map data, orchestration, basic publish to ICS, and basic subscribe to ICS. For now we are just going to use the simplest one, that is basic map data. So just click select here. Now I'm just going to name my integration opportunity integration, no package, and just click create. Now you see this is the canvas on which you can draw your integration. These are the connections which can be used in this particular integration. Now only those connectors which have been tested and are 100% status okay can be seen here. So first of all, just dragging and dropping the LinkedIn connection to the invoke side of the integration. So what do you want to create? What do you want to create your what do you want to call your connection? It is LinkedIn connector, and let's click next here. Now these are all the operations that can be done on the LinkedIn API. We want to share a status, so we are just going to select share and click next, and we are done. After you click done, this is what you see. So you are seeing a request coming into the LinkedIn connection, a response being sent, and a fault response as well. Now the next step is dragging and dropping the REST receive request adapter to the left hand side of the integration. So we could just name it REST receive request, and so this is the endpoint's relative resource URI, which can be used to call this from an external client. So we are just going to use post status update here. And what action does the endpoint perform? It is post, since we are going to post a status. And here we configure a request and response payloads, which we are going to do in the next step. Now let's click next. So we are going to call a REST service. That means we need a JSON sample. So I'm just going to provide a sample JSON, which I have pre-configured. So the sample response request JSON that we have is going to contain two fields. First is destination, that is LinkedIn, and the actual message that we want to post. This is message, and we have a new opportunity along with the link of the opportunity. So coming back here, entering the JSON and click OK. Now let's go to the response payload, doing the same, providing a sample JSON response. The sample response that we want to send to the SOAP UI client is this. The first field is called acknowledgement, that is an update number, and second is the details, which is all provided by LinkedIn. So I'm just going to copy it and paste the JSON here and clicking OK. Clicking next, and this is all what we configured here. So the REST service URI, the service can be reached when deployed. The service can be reached at /post status update. Method is post, and request media type is application/JSON, and the same for response media type. So let's click done here. Now the next step that we need is configuring the mapping between the request and the response. So I'm going to click on the first line here, that is execute the request part. So click on the map and click plus, that means create a new map for request. Now you see the request parameters are destination and message, and this is the request parameters that are needed by the share operation on LinkedIn. So first of all, the message is our comment, so I'm just going to map the message with comment like this. And secondly, LinkedIn requires you to say to who this message should be visible. For example, you must have seen when you share something on LinkedIn, there is a drop down that says to who this message should be visible, whether it be friends or friends of friends or somebody else. So I'm just going to type this here so that this message can be seen by any normal person who is not your friend or friend of friends or whatever. So I'm just going to save it and close. So our mapping is complete now for the request. I'm going to save it and exit the mapper. Similarly, now we are going to configure the request mapping as well. So now this is what comes back from LinkedIn, and this is what we are going to give to the SOAP UI client. So the update key can be mapped to acknowledgement, and the update URL can be mapped to details. Just click save here and exit mapper. So thus we complete our mapping, and there's just one more thing to do before we can deploy this process. This is tracking. So tracking is basically through tracking you can basically search for a particular request. For example, I'm just going to drag and drop message here. Okay, so that means that you will be able to later on track messages by the actual message which came in the message field. So now we are going to click done, and you see the status for this integration is 100%. So we can exit the integration, save your changes first. So now one new thing that you now see here after the status for the integration is 100% is this radio switch here. If you turn it on, it is going to activate the integration. That is just to say that the integration is now going to be deployed. So, and enable tracing is a checkbox which you get here. So enable tracing means the logs will be more detailed, and as it says, when tracing is enabled, sensitive information from the payload is written into log files which can be downloaded and viewed. This may pose a security risk and slows down your system. Not recommended in a production environment. So if you want to check, so we are just going to check it since this is not a production environment, and click activate. It takes a few seconds for it to be activated. So okay, now it is activated, and so the ICS configuration part is now completed. Just to take a quick recap, first of all, we created the LinkedIn connector, which also included configuring an app on the development console of LinkedIn. Then we created the REST connector, which can be used to accept requests from SOAP UI. Then we created the actual integration, which uses both of the previously mentioned connectors and maps data to and fro. So now all we need to get is the endpoint of this integration where it is hosted, and call it from SOAP UI with the actual message that is required. So I'm just going to open it. So this is kind of like the WADL of this service, but our service is not hosted at this endpoint. To call the service, we need to call the relative URI, which let's see what it was and then use it in SOAP UI. So the relative resource URI was post status update, and I'm not able to copy it from here, so I'm just going to create a new project here. So now coming to SOAP UI, let's create a new REST project and copy this string here, but change metadata to the relative resource URI that we have exposed, that was post status update. And click OK. So this is a SOAP UI project which is going to mimic the company's resource management system. I'm going to change the method to post here and provide our sample request here. So this is the destination LinkedIn, and message we have a new opportunity. It's http accenture.com cnen careers and the job ID. One more thing which you have to do is you have to provide authentication so that SOAP UI can communicate with the ICS. we are just going to provide a basic authentication here, and this is your username and password for ICS. And looks like we are all set to go now. So I'm just going to test my request here, and so as you see, the request was successfully sent to LinkedIn, and we received the response, acknowledgement and details from LinkedIn. So this is the update key, and the details has a link from LinkedIn. So now let's go to LinkedIn and check whether our message was successfully posted. Just go to profile, your updates, and yes, here it is. We provided the link of this opening of Accenture, and as you can see, this was posted 26 seconds before. So the integration works successfully. Now going back to the integration cloud services and seeing the dashboard, close and exit integration here. Now you can just go to the monitoring tab and see the success rate of the messages which were sent in. So I tried testing 3 messages in the past 1 hour, and 66.7%, that is 2 out of 3 of those messages were successfully. Here you can see the number of messages initiated in the past 1 hour and the number of failures, and also connections. So there are 2 connections we have right now, one is for REST and one is for LinkedIn. They are currently used, and 1 integration active. And this is a quite useful feature from which you can download logs, the activity stream and the diagnostic logs. As I mentioned before, they are available in the same WebLogic format of diagnostic out and the main log. So this completes our POC, and thank you for watching.